I think it's really important when you're starting a session to get there early and have a neutral space if possible that you can go into. So you can have a room that you can arrange chairs, or you can sit on the floor in a circle, depending on different people's needs and access needs, and so that you can see everybody's face and make sure that the space is nice and clear or has got the stimuli in it that you want. Do you do that, Daz?
Absolutely. And I just want to pick up on a point that you made, first of all, about getting there early. Because if you get to a setting early, it really helps with your planning and your gauging of the atmosphere in the setting that day. Also, it gives you time to speak to members of staff and just get an idea of what's been happening on that particular week.
And when I've been working with lots of classroom teachers, it's really nice if you've got a music room in your classroom, but sadly most of us don't have that sort of access anymore. But if you have got your classroom, moving your classroom a bit round, if you're a classroom-based teacher, can really, really inspire the children. Just moving the desk to one side, being able to sit in a circle or a different place, it just gives the room a slightly different atmosphere. Now, all schools have got different equipment, so there are lots of things that we've all got. We can all use our voice, we can use body percussion, and most schools have got some instruments, but you may feel that you haven't got quite the instruments that you want. So you can make instruments, and I think it's really important to buy in some special instruments as well, things that kids will really remember. So we both use our own instruments. So when I go in, I use my violin, and kids generally love hearing and seeing the different sounds that you can make on the violin. Whether it's spooky or short sounds. And you really like taking in
My guitar. And again, you make all sorts of sounds on this. And I also like to use my voice as well. Ho, 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 ho!
I really like to sing instructions sometimes. Everybody, can you do this, this? Just because it's a slightly different way of getting people's attention. Now, if you're a classroom-based teacher, you may have an instrument that you really like using, but you may have an instrument you think, well, I haven't played that for years. I think kids don't judge. They don't judge what we're doing. They just really enjoy hearing your voice, hearing you sing, and they really enjoy hearing you play your instrument. So even if you haven't got it out for a while, they will still really enjoy hearing you play that. And for me, if a young person says, I really want to hear this instrument, I will have a go at playing it. And I was working with a young person a little while ago who had played the clarinet in a previous setting and was finding it very difficult to integrate, and I was very lucky to be lent a clarinet, and I learnt a few notes. I wasn't very good, and it really helped to create a good bond with that young person because they could show me some of the things they could do on the clarinet, and that was a really lovely thing.
I think that's another very good point. When we're going into settings, we are not going in particularly to show off just how technically fantastic we are. It's good to make mistakes. Mistakes are humanising for everybody, and they keep us all on that level together.
And it's good to try new things as well. So I've been learning the ukulele, and I found that a lot of young people want to learn the guitar, and the ukulele is great for learning those initial chord shapes, particularly if you've got smaller hands. And I've got some young people who really like to sit there and strum and have a sing along, and some young people who find the visual shapes of the chords really satisfying. So I think being able to provide a lot of variety is really important, but it needn't cost lots and lots of money.
No.
And
we also encourage participants to experiment with the instruments as well. I'll give you just a quick example with the guitar. I mean, we can play it in all the conventional ways, but we can also use it. And it'll make different sounds according to where it's tapped. And one of my favourites is, hello, can anybody hear me? So it's very important and fun to encourage experimentation with instruments and with sounds in general.
It's really good for young people to be able to hear a variety of different sounds because they may not have encountered lots of instruments before. One of the things I used fairly recently was the harmonica. And it's quite a small, quite an inexpensive instrument, but some of the young people absolutely loved hearing and playing the harmonica. They just absolutely loved it. Lots of young people dancing around. So harmonicas are a really lovely thing to invest in. And I can see you've got another favourite there.
The kazoo. Very cheap, simple instrument, but fantastic sound. So whatever instrument you've got, and you may look in the music cupboard and go, oh no, some of these are broken. We can repair things. So whatever you've got, have a look at it. You might have chime bars. They're great for using with young people. If you've got enough for the young people that you're working with, then that's the main thing. You might have a class of 30 and think, I don't want to get the instruments out because that will be really hard to control. So we've got some games to show you later. But my favourite tip for that is using some binoculars as you're doing your playing, particularly for younger people, so they put the instruments down because they have to use their hands to see where we're going next in our musical adventure. All right, shall we talk a little bit about using space as well? Yes, definitely. So it's really great if you can have a clear room and then you can just put in the things that you need in there. Maybe the chairs in the circle, as I said, so you can see every young person and what they're doing and how they're engaging. Now, if we're doing singing, for example, I might have some young people who aren't singing yet. But I don't call attention to that because I think we're all working towards playing the beat, we're all working towards singing. So I've worked with a lot of young people who, for various reasons, don't feel confident enough to sing at first. So they're taking it in. A lot of them are going home and singing. I had one young person who didn't sing for a year, but when she did sing, oh, it was so wonderful. And she'd been home, she'd remembered things, she'd practiced, and she was building up the confidence to finally have a go. So if someone looks like they're not participating, they could well be taking everything in and building up the confidence to make that first sound. I think that's just like babies, isn't it? When babies are young, you see them watching and watching and watching, and then all of a sudden they'll do something. I had a participant in one setting who just started up and they were an elective mute. I played my instrument and talked to them anyway, and then found out the following week that after a little bit of engagement and they'd got a bit of confidence, they were actually a songwriter and a keyboard player as well, which was an absolute revelation to me and to all the staff in the setting as well. And it set them on a real trajectory for getting things done and for getting into music further. Now, some young people can find sitting down in a circle very challenging because they're very physical young people. So I do encourage dancing. We have a lot of movement. I tend to change activity quickly so that for those young people who find it very hard to sit and focus, they can still focus when they're up and they're dancing. For them, that's just a different way of taking it in. They're still focusing and engaging. So you might need some young people to have that freedom to move. You might want to go outside. I've done quite a few sessions where I've been outside and we've explored space outside and the sounds that we find outside. That's a lovely thing to incorporate. It can really change the dynamic of a session. Yeah. And another thing that I think we've both used is screens. So you can project maybe the northern lights or space. So you really give the room that you're in a different feel. Maybe you put up a sensory bit of material or you put on some lower lighting. All those things can have a real impact on your music session and the creativity within it.